In this long-form, poetic bedtime journey, you'll be guided gently and slowly into the heart of one of the universe's most profound mysteries, black holes. With every chapter, you'll drift deeper into a meditative space where science meets wonder, and where questions don't need answers right away, they only need curiosity. As you listen, your breath will slow, your body will soften, and your imagination will stretch like starlight across the cosmos. You begin not in deep space, but within the gravity of your own breath. We gently meet the idea of a black hole not as a monster, but as a whisper in the dark. Gravity wraps around you like a warm blanket, and you start to feel what it means to fall not down, but inward. Tonight, the stars are not above you. They're inside your thoughts, waiting. And one by one, they begin to bend. Close your eyes. Let the room soften. Let the silence swell. Outside, the night is deepening, folding the sky into itself. But in here inside your breath, your heartbeat, your bones, something else begins. Something not noisy or sharp. Something slow, something pulling. This isn't sleep quite yet. But it's what comes just before sleep. That floating moment where thought begins to melt at the edges, and even the heaviest things, worries, memories, the weight of the day become featherlight. This is gravity, not the kind that pins you down, but the kind that gathers you in. You are not falling, not yet. You are being drawn softly, slowly into a story that began before you were born, and will continue long after the last ember of your final dream fades. A story told in silence, in shadow, in stars. The black hole is not a monster. It does not roar or rage. It does not chase. It waits, and it has been waiting for a very long time. But before we meet it, we must understand something simple, something close, something you already know. Gravity. You have known gravity since you were born. You felt it the moment your body first pressed gently into the earth. It cradles you every time you lie down. It whispers to you as you sleep. It is the lullaby written into your bones. Gravity is not just what keeps your feet on the floor. It is what keeps the moon circling the earth circling the sun, and the sun dancing through the spiraled arms of our galaxy. It is invisible, and yet it holds everything. You cannot see gravity, but you can feel it in your eyelids as they grow heavy. You can feel it in your breath as it deepens. You can feel it in the quiet tug behind your thoughts. Right now, the one that is gently pulling you towards stillness. So imagine this. You are lying on the surface of a calm, dark ocean. Above you, stars shimmer like scattered seeds. Beneath you, something stirs not, a creature, not a threat, but a current, a deep, ancient current, and you begin to drift, not side to side, not away, but inward, inward. That's the direction. Gravity takes us when it becomes strongest. It pulls not toward down, but toward center, toward the heart of things. The Earth's gravity pulls you toward its core. The Sun's gravity holds all the planets in orbit, each one dancing in an ellipse, tracing invisible threads across the blackness. And yet, even the Sun mighty and glowing bows to something greater. It orbits too. It too is pulled. And at the center of our galaxy, that pull becomes something else entirely, a black hole. But tonight, we don't rush there. We move slowly, like drifting down a river of thought, like slipping into a bath drawn warm and still. We float first through understanding, through a universe woven with gravity, where everything pulls on everything else. You are part of this web. You are one of the threads. Right now, gravity holds your body to your bed. But in a much grander sense, your body made of particles born inside stars is held to the earth, which is held to the sun, which is held to the galaxy, which is held by something we cannot quite see, something dark, something dense, something quiet. The black hole. People often fear black holes. They imagine them as cosmic vacuum cleaners, roaming the universe, devouring stars and light with mindless hunger. But that's not quite true. A black hole is not a predator. It does not chase. It does not need to move, because gravity does not need to move to work its wonder. It simply waits. The universe leans toward it. What is a black hole, really? It is gravity gone deep. Gravity folded so tightly into itself that it becomes something else. It is like a knot tied in the fabric of space-time, or a whisper in a silent room, so soft you might miss it, but once you hear it, you can't forget. Imagine folding a sheet of paper again and again and again, folded not once or twice, but millions of times, until the folds are so dense, so tight, that the paper disappears into itself. A black hole is that kind of folding, but it happens to space, to time, to everything. It begins with a star, a big one, much bigger than our sun, one that burns so brightly it uses up its fuel in just a few million years. When it has nothing left to burn, it collapses. Not with an explosion, though sometimes it does burst in a final supernova, but in the end it imploded. It falls inward, and gravity wins. When that inward fall goes beyond a certain point, it doesn't stop. It keeps going, until even the light can no longer escape. This is when a black hole is born. But we'll visit that star story soon. Tonight, we're only just beginning. For now, rest with the idea that gravity, quiet and constant, is not just a force, it is a kind of memory. A memory written into the shape of the universe. A memory that pulls things home. Even your breath moves with it. You inhale, you exhale. And somewhere in that rhythm is a very small echo of the way galaxies spin, the way stars drift, the way gravity hums through everything. Black holes are not far from you. They live in the mathematics that governs your heartbeat. They live in the slow drift of countenance, in the curve of the moon's path across the sky. They are not strangers. They are part of the family of forces that built you. And so, when we speak of them tonight, we don't speak with fear. We speak with wonder, with reverence, with stillness. Close your eyes a little more deeply. Let your thoughts settle like dust. Let the dark become friendly again. Imagine a place in the sky where stars bend, where time doesn't run in straight lines, where light vanishes not because it is gone, but because it is still falling, forever falling. A black hole is not a thing you can touch. It has no surface, no edge. It is a boundary drawn not in space, but in escape. A place where even the fastest runner, the photon, the particle of light, cannot climb back out. But before we go there, before we touch that darkness, we must first understand what makes a star live and what makes it die. Because a black hole is not born out of nothing. It is the last breath of something once bright. And sometimes the softest places begin with fire. Let that thought stay with you. Let it keep you company as your breathing deepens, your limbs loosen, and your mind glides gently toward dreams. Somewhere out there, a star has gone quiet. Not tragically, not in pain, but like a candle gently extinguishing itself in a draught. It folded inward. It disappeared. and in doing so, it left behind a mystery. And tomorrow night, we will follow that star to see how light becomes shadow. Take a slow breath. Let it settle in your chest like starlight finding a place to rest. Let it out gently, like a whisper through the dark. The night continues, soft and endless, and in that quiet we return not to black holes just yet, but to their beginnings, to the story of a star. A star so large, so bright, it burns itself into stillness. Every black hole begins this way, not in violence, but in brilliance. Let's visit one. Float with me now, not fast, but slow across the fabric of space. Let your mind drift like a feather through the void. Ahead, there is a star. Not just any star, not like our sun. This one is enormous. It swells like a golden lung. Its light is not harsh, but powerful, soft-edged, and immense. It pulses with warmth and fire, a glowing orb that thrums with life. This star has been shining for millions of years, but it won't shine forever. Nothing does. Not even stars. The life of a star begins in a cradle of dust clouds of gas and particles swirled together by gravity's invisible hand. These clouds drift through galaxies like ghosts until something stirs, then perhaps a nearby supernova. Perhaps the weight of their own massand, they begin to collapse inward. As they fall, they heat, and heat brings light. At first the newborn, stars gentle a dim, flickering glow. But inside, something extraordinary is happening, nuclear fusion. Like pressing the palms of atoms together until they merge, until their union spills energy out into space. In stars, hydrogen, the lightest element, fuses into helium. Each fusion a burst of light, each light a note in the star's long song. This is how a star lives, by burning, by fusing, by resisting gravity's constant pull with an inner fire for most of its life. This balance holds. Gravity pulls inward, fusion pushes outward. One force trying to collapse, the other to expand. They meet in a quiet tug-of-war, a stillness born from motion, but not forever. Our massive star, our giant, glowing companion is reaching the end of its fuel. It has used up most of its hydrogen, the simple, abundant fuel of its youth. And now, it must burn heavier things. Helium, carbon, oxygen. Each new fuel gives less energy, and each stage lasts less time. It is like a fire eating through layers of wood, until the only thing left to burn is the ash itself. And so, the star begins to change. Its core shrinks. Its outer layers puff outward, swollen and unstable. It becomes a red supergiant, bloated and unsteady, its surface trembling like an old breath. This star is not dying in agony. It is aging. It is becoming something else. It is growing tired, but the core continues to burn heavier and heavier elements, down to iron. Iron is the end, not because it is heavy, but because it doesn't give. Fusing iron takes more energy than it releases, and without fuel to fight gravity's pull, the star begins to fold. Not slowly now, but suddenly. The collapse is stunning, swift as thought. The core falls inward, faster than sound, faster than understanding. The outer layers are thrown away in a final supernova, a bright shell of farewell. But inside, that brilliant goodbye, something darker is happening. Gravity wins. The star's core collapses into itself, tighter and tighter, until it passes the point of no return. It squeezes space, time, and matter into a point so dense, so small, It is no longer a star. It is something else. It is a black hole. But we're not ready to fall in just yet. Let's stay here, hovering softly above the ashes of what once burned. Because even in this ending there is beauty. The supernova, the star's last breath, is not destruction, it is release. It spreads the heavy elements the star made during its life into space. Gold, silver, carbon, oxygen, the stuff of planets, the stuff of people. Your bones are made of calcium from stars like this. The iron in your blood, once forged in a collapsing heart. The oxygen in your lungs, gifted by stars who burned bright and then let go. You are, quite literally, starfall, not poetry, not metaphor, fact. The elements that make you possible were born in the death of stars. So when you think of black holes, don't think only of endings. Think of transformation, of turning light into shadow. Think of a flame that burns so brightly. It folded space around itself just to rest. It takes a very massive star to create a black hole. Not all stars do. Smaller stars like our sun will end their lives more gently, as white dwarfs or quiet clouds of gas. But the biggest ones, the giants, they die like this, with a brilliance that leaves behind silence. Imagine the core of that giant star, now collapsed. It doesn't glow, it doesn't flicker, it simply is dense beyond imagining, heavy beyond words. A spoonful of its matter would outweigh a mountain. It curves space so tightly around itself that light cannot escape, not because it's trapped, like a bird in a cage, but because the path back out no longer exists. This is where a black hole begins, not in darkness, but in light too bright to last. Let's pause here. Let your breath be the rhythm of a fading star. Inhale, fusion, exhale, collapse, inhale, life, exhale, release. Not all things that end are broken. Not all darkness is loss. There is something sacred in this falling, something calm, something final, and yet not quite final, because black holes do not mark the end of stories. They begin new ones. Stories told not in light, but in gravity, not with motion, but with bending. Imagine standing at the edge of what used to be a star. Now silent, there is no fire, no light, no sound, but the space around it hums. Not audibly, not in music, but in curve, in warp. In stillness so powerful it shapes everything nearby. Planets, if they stray too close, spiral inward. Light, if it passes near, bends like a river turning its path. Time, if it dares to linger, slows. All around this black hole, the laws of physics begin to stretch, and inside. We do not know, not yet. We've never seen a black hole from the inside, only the outer signs, the bending of light, the tug on nearby stars, the patterns of radiation at the edges. But the heart of a black hole remains hidden, wrapped not in shadow, but in mystery. And so we wait, we wonder, we imagine, we build models, equations, theories. We send telescopes skyward, listening to the whispers of gravity waves. We map the X-rays from galaxies far away, where stars are eaten and light is scattered, and still the black hole keeps its silence, and that silence is an invitation, not one to fear, but to follow, because inside every black hole there is the memory of a star, a beginning hidden inside an end, a flame that once burned, now curled inward into possibility. You're drifting now, your thoughts slowed, your breath long and easy. Imagine again that giant star, its last moment, It does not rage, it does not cry, it folds, like a blanket, drawn over a tired body, like a breath let out in peace, like sleep. The star has fallen, and something has taken its place. You do not yet know what it is, but you are ready to look, and as you float nearer to that invisible boundary, the event horizon, you wonder, if even light cannot leave, what happens to time? You are floating, not in water, not in air, but in space still. Soundless place where gravity does not press, but cradles. The black hole is near now. You feel it before you see it, not with your eyes, but in the gentle pull behind your thoughts, like being drawn inward by a memory you haven't remembered yet. You are not afraid, because this journey is slow, gentle, the way sleep wraps itself around you. One breath at a time, ahead lies something strange, something quiet, something curved at not in shape, but in the way it bends what's around it. Not a wall, not a cliff, not even a place, but a boundary. It is called the event horizon. You have arrived at the edge, but not a sharp edge, not a glowing border, no line drawn in stars. The event horizon is invisible. You cannot touch it, or see it, or hear it. But if you cross it, you cannot return. That is what makes it a horizon, not like the one you see at the sea's edge, where sky meets water, but a horizon of events, of what can happen, of what can ever be known. Before this edge, events can unfold and still be seen beyond it. They vanish, not into nothing, but into silence. The event horizon is like a veil, drawn across the universe's face from the outside. Everything past it becomes a ghost. Time behaves differently here. Let's pause for a moment. Imagine a clock. Its hand ticks once every second. Now bring it closer to a black hole. Closer still. As it nears the event horizon, the hand slows. Not because the clock is broken, but because time itself is stretching dot to someone far away. The hand seems to hesitate. Then it barely moves at all, and just as it touches the horizon it freezes, stops. But to the clock, from its own view, time feels normal. Seconds pass, one after the other. This is the strange poetry of relativity. Time is not the same for everyone. Near a black hole, time slows down, space stretches, light bends, physics twists, but never breaks. The closer you get to the horizon, the more you feel it time turning, syrupy, thick, heavy. Thoughts stretch out, breath by breath. Imagine walking toward the edge of a frozen lake. You walk slower and slower, not because the ice resists, but because the rules themselves shift beneath you, until, eventually, you are still, from far away. You never cross the edge. You simply ... fade. That's how it looks. Anyway, from the outside, nothing ever truly enters a black hole. Not completely. It gets slower, redder, dimmer. Time stops for that traveler, frozen in mid-fall. But from your perspective, inside your own skin, time still flows. You pass through the event horizon like a feather falling through fog, quiet, weightless, and irreversible. But you haven't crossed it yet. You're still hovering, drifting above the veil, suspended like dust in a sunbeam. Let's stay here a while. Feel what it's like to approach a boundary that cannot be seen, to feel space curve around you like a cocoon, to watch starlight warp not because the star has moved, but because the path its light takes has bent. Black holes don't swallow. They bend. They are sculptors of reality. They tell light where to go, and light listens. Imagine holding a sheet of rubber tight, and placing a heavy ball in its center. The sheet sinks, curves, wraps around the ball. Now roll a marble across the sheet. It spirals inward, not because the ball calls to it, but because the surface itself has changed. That's what gravity does. It doesn't pull, like a rope. It bends space. A black hole is a place where that bend becomes extreme. The event horizon is the place where the curve becomes so steep, so deep, that no path leads outward anymore. And yet, there is no fence, no shell, no surface. If you floated here long enough, you might see light from stars behind the black hole. Their shapes stretched and ringed into what's called an Einstein ring. A perfect circle of light, made not by mirrors, but by gravity's lens. You might see your own reflection, twisted and delayed, arriving from a moment ago. This is a place where mirrors don't need glass, where time reflects back on itself, and where the universe seems to look at you through bent starlight. Close your eyes again. Let the image settle, the black hole ahead of you. The horizon wrapped around it like a secret, not black like paint, not black like ink, but black like the absence of escape. A place where even hope must turn inward, and still you are calm, because you are here to observe, not to rush. The universe is not in a hurry, and neither are you. You begin to notice something else now. Your sense of direction starts to slip. Where is up? Where is forward? Space no longer behaves like a room. It behaves like a feeling, like a pole. Everything, every photon, every planet, every law leans inward here, and that inward has no bottom, only depth. If you were to shine a light straight ahead, it wouldn't reach out, it would curl back, caught in the well. A spiral of light, falling with no floor. The event horizon is the place where even light surrenders. But don't mistake surrender for loss. Surrender can be graceful. It can be gentle, like letting go of the edge of the pool and float in deeper, like a leaf giving itself to the river. You watch a photon approach the horizon. You see its color shift. Redder its wavelength, stretching like breath drawn out too far, until it vanishes. This effect is called gravitational redshift, a stretching of light by gravity's hand, a reminder that even light is not above the rules. But let's talk about escape from Earth. You'd need to move very fast to leave about 11 kilometers per second. That's Earth's escape velocity, the sun. More than 600 kilometers per second, but a black hole. Its escape velocity is greater than the speed of light. And since nothing travels faster than light, not even imagination, nothing gets out. That's what defines the event horizon. It's not a barrier. It's a point beyond which escape is not only unlikely, but impossible. And still, the black hole does not pull like a magnet. If our sun were replaced with a black hole of the same mass, the Earth would keep orbiting just the same. Light wouldn't reach us, but gravity would behave exactly as it had. That's the strange kindness of physics. From afar, nothing changes. It is only when you get close that reality begins to fold. And here, now, in this moment, you are very close, but not inside. You're on the edge, and the edge is patient. You look around. Stars wheel far away. Their orbits whisper stories of gravity too deep to ignore. Time is slow now, so slow you think a thought, and the thought stretches like honey. You imagine reaching for something, and your hand moves like driftwood in a current. Stillness holds you like a lullaby, and the black hole waits. It does not consume with greed. It allows it Reshapes. It teaches the universe to curve, to bow, to rest. You listen, not with ears, but with curiosity. And what you hear is silence, but not emptiness. A silence full of meaning. A silence made of edges and folds and paused seconds. A silence where time itself slows down to sit beside you. You are still outside the horizon, but only just. And you wonder, if you crossed it, would you feel it? Would there be a sudden shift, a change in the air, a sense of falling? Or would it feel like nothing at all? A whisper passed, a veil touched, a step taken that cannot be undone. You rest here, at the threshold, and the question begins to glow gently in your thoughts. If time slows, near the edge, what happens inside? You've been waiting, floating just outside the horizon, feeling the stretch of time, the bend of space. Now it's time to cross. Not with a jolt, not with a bang, but softly, like mist passing through mist. You don't feel a change at first. No rush of motion, no shock, only a deeper stillness, and a gentle, constant falling. But this falling is unlike anything you've known before. It doesn't pull you down. It draws you inward, like a memory you fall into and forget where you began. You have crossed the event, horizon, and what lies ahead is a journey deeper than direction. This is not a fall through space. It is a fall through the shape of reality. Are no longer just moving forward. You are moving forward in a place where forward always leads to the center. Not because the center pulls you, but because the space you move through has been curved, so deeply that all paths point there. Imagine walking across a room where every step leans inward. Every floor tile slopes toward one point, and no matter where you turn, your feet are drawn to the center. That's what it's like inside the horizon. You do not resist. You drift. Einstein's equations are written into the air here, not in chalk, but in curve. The math becomes feeling, and the feeling is surrender. Outside, clocks still tick, stars still burn. But inside, here everything is different. Light can no longer leave, but light still exists. It travels with you now, like a traveling companion on a one-way path. Photons fall too. They don't race ahead or bounce away. They spiral gently beside you, caught in the same inevitable curve. Time continues for you, and that's what matters, because this is a personal journey, one only you can take. No one outside can follow your path now. They'll never see you cross. To them, you are frozen, paused forever on the brink. But you are not paused. You are falling, peacefully, smoothly, completely. There is no air here, no wind, no sound, except the sound of your own breath, if you imagine it. And even that is steady, slow, calm. Your body does not feel crushed. It feels suspended, protected by the nature of motion itself. This seems impossible. Shouldn't a black hole tear you apart? Shouldn't the gravity be too strong? But that depends on the size, and the one you're in now, it's enormous. The bigger the black hole, the gentler its horizon. You feel no pain, only drift. You have entered a space where the laws of physics soften, and now space itself is your road. Time is your guide, and both are curved toward something unseen inside the event horizon. The rules of direction change. Going forward, no longer means through space. It means going deeper in. It is impossible to stand still here. Every moment moves you closer to the center, even if you don't try. Even if you hold your breath and close your eyes and reach for nothing, you're moving, not like a fall off a ledge, but like sliding down a gentle spiral. It's not frightening, it's inevitable and quiet, so very quiet around you. Light from your own body no longer scatters outward. It travels with you, follows your path, trapped as you are. You look at your hand, and the edges shimmer strangely, as though your hand is being seen from many moments at once. Time feels layered. Now one moment folds into the next like pages pressed together there, meanings bleeding through. You remember something, and it feels close, not in the past, but beside you. A memory brushing against your thoughts like a bird's wing. It's not clear, but it's warm. You wonder, is the black hole remembering too? Is it gathering every second, every photon, every breath, and holding them all, somewhere? But that's a thought for later. Right now, you are simply falling. Falling through a silence so vast, it becomes its own kind of sound. Not an absence, but a fullness. A hum beneath everything. A vibration not of air, but of understanding. As you fall, you pass through layers, not physical ones, but layers of space, curved tighter and tighter. Each layer wraps closer to the heart. Each one a fold in the fabric of what was once straight. You feel stretched not painfully, not physically, but conceptually, as though your sense of self is becoming longer, not larger, not broken, just wider, and time begins to behave strangely. You feel a second pass, but when you reach for the next one, it's already changed shape. Seconds become soft. Minutes no longer march. They drift like leaves. If someone could watch you from outside, they would never see you arrive. To them, you are frozen just outside the horizon, paused forever, caught in the final moment. But you are long past that now. You are deep within and still falling. There is no end yet, only motion, soft, absolute. Your thoughts begin to slow, not because you're sleepy, but because there is so much to feel, so much to absorb. Every inch of space inside this black hole is telling you something, not in words, but in curve. In the gentle shape of inevitability, the path is not a choice, it is a truth. All paths go deeper. This is not a trap, it is a design, and the designer is gravity. Gravity made so strong, so focused, that it becomes more than force. It becomes destination. You remember the moment you crossed the horizon. You didn't even notice. There was no bang, no line, no siren, only surrender. That is how black holes embrace you, with a hand so wide it covers time, with a silence so full it makes noise irrelevant. You wonder what lies at the center. You wonder what it means to arrive, but you are not there yet. The center, called the singularity, is not a place you can see from here. It is not a dot. It is not a ball dot. It is where the rules stop working, not because they are broken, but because they are too curved to hold. As you fall, you begin to feel this, not dread, not fear, but compression, not of your body, of your understanding. Things you knew before seem stretched. Concepts bend, inside and outside blur. Before and after fold together. It's not chaos. It's harmony in a different shape. You do not feel torn. You feel reassembled, as if the black hole is not destroying you, but rearranging you, rewriting you in its own alphabet. An alphabet made of geometry and rhythm, and still you fall. Not down on it, always. In each moment, draws you closer to something. A still point. A center that isn't a place, but a condition. You think of rivers, how they flow not because they choose to, but because they follow the slope. You are a river now, a stream of being, falling into gravity's deepest valley. You have never felt so slow. You have never felt so certain, and you wonder, what will you become when you reach the end of falling? What happens when there's nowhere left to fall? You are still falling. The silence around you is unchanged, but deeper. The light that once shimmered with you no longer scatters. It folds in, gently, like a sheet drawn over sleeping thoughts. Each moment is quieter than the last, not empty, but slow. So slow, it feels like stillness wearing the mask of time. And ahead, though the word ahead no longer means what it used to, there is something, not a place, not a point, but a mystery. The singularity, it waits at the center. Not in the way a destination waits, with open doors, but in the way silence waits for words to stop. What is a singularity? Not a dot, not a ball, not even a thing. It is where all directions end, where space curves so tightly that it no longer makes sense to ask how far or how long. It is not where in the usual way. It is not even when. It is the breaking point of our understanding. The rules of physics so careful, so constant begin to blur here, like lines drawn in wet ink. They held and held, and now they run. But even here, in the collapse of certainty, you are calm, you are curious, because this is not destruction, it is transformation. You feel it in your bones, not pain, not pressure, but redefinition, as if your very shape is being rewritten, not shattered. Reshaped space is no longer space. It folds, collapses, compresses not like paper, but like thought. Dimensions that once held you gently now squeeze inward. Compact and curved beyond imagining. Distance ends. But so does size. You are not big or small anymore. You simply are. Even time, faithful companion, has slowed into something else. Not a line, not a loop, but a pause. Imagine listening to a song and, just before the final note, everything holds. Not in suspense, in awe. That's what time feels like here. Held breath. And yet, you are not gone. Your sense of self, however changed, is still here, still falling. Even though there's no space left to fall through. Still moving, though motion no longer follows. Paths. How can this be? Because at the singularity, meaning changes. Words fail, concepts soften, and being is no longer a matter of where or when. It is simply presence. Let's step back, gently, for a moment. Think again of gravity, that invisible hand that pulls everything toward everything else. In a black hole, gravity doesn't just pull. It overwhelms. It doesn't ask space to curve, it demands it. And the result is this: a place or a moment where curvature becomes infinite, where the math breaks down, where infinity enters not as a number, but as a whisper in the formulas we thought could describe everything. Infinity is not a large thing. It is the end of being able to say, how large? And the singularity is where our questions reach that edge. It is the boundary between science and silence, between what we know and what we wonder. Still, you float. Though float may no longer be the right word. You exist, that's enough. In this space, that's in this space. The black hole holds you, not cruelly, not carelessly, but inevitably. You are part of its story now, and perhaps it is part of yours. There are theories, theories that try to explain the singularity. Some say it's a point where all matter is compressed into zero volume, infinite density. Others say it's not real, not a physical place, but a mathematical artifact, a sign that our current understanding is incomplete, that somewhere, in deeper equations yet to be written, the singularity smooths out into something else, a bridge, a bounce, a beginning. And maybe that's the key. Maybe the singularity is not the end of the path, but the place where paths change shape, where falling becomes forming, where collapse becomes creation. Imagine this. You fold a piece of cloth again and again until the folds become tight enough to press through themselves. Now imagine the cloth isn't fabric, but space. Could the singularity be a tear, a tunnel, a seed? Some believe it leads elsewhere, not back into this universe, but into another, a baby universe, a bloom inside the shell of collapse. It's a poetic idea, and who's to say poetry can't be true? We do not know. No telescope can peer into the singularity. No probe can report back. Even light cannot leave. It is not that the singularity hides. It simply exists beyond observation, beyond reach, but not beyond wonder. You're not afraid, because whatever this is, this folding, this silence, this center, it is not angry. It is not cruel. It simply is, like a cave deep beneath the sea, like a note too low for human ears, like a truth that waits, even if it cannot be said here. Even your thoughts feel quiet. Even your questions don't need answers, only presence. And presence is all there is. You are not being erased. You are being held, pressed into something smaller than space, deeper than time, softer than sound, held not by force, but by finality. The black hole does not ask for anything, it only continues. The singularity does not glow, but it is the heart of this shadow, the place where everything converges, and perhaps where everything begins again. There are those who say black holes evaporate over unimaginable spans of time, that they release their secrets slowly, particle by particle, that what enters may one day leave not as itself, but as information encoded in heat. If so, then even the singularity is not permanent. Even the deepest mystery is temporary. Everything flows. Everything changes. But now, in this moment, you are here, and you feel without needing to explain it that this isn't the end. It is a still point, a fulcrum, the center of gravity's breath. And maybe, just maybe, this pause, this fold, this singularity, is the door to something else. The singularity fades behind you now, not because you've moved away, but because time itself carries you like a leaf on a still river. You feel no jolt, no shift, only a gentle unfolding in the dark. It is not escape, not quite, but a soft turning outward again, like an exhale after holding your breath for centuries, somewhere, far above. Though above no longer means direction, there is a boundary. You crossed it long ago, the event horizon. But even now, from within, you begin to sense echoes, not sound, not voices, but something quieter, like heat on your skin that you didn't notice at first, like a memory that isn't yours, unfolding in the soft corners of your mind. Black holes, we once thought, were absolute, silent, consuming. Final dot, we imagined them as cosmic, vault-sealed, indifferent. What went in, stayed in, forever hidden beyond the veil. Mass, light, time, information. Lost, But nothing in the universe is ever truly lost. Not really, even here. Even in this silence, there are traces, hints, echoes. Long ago, a man named Stephen Hawking listened carefully to this silence, and in doing so, he heard something astonishing. Black holes, he proposed, are not completely black. They glow very faintly, almost invisibly, with a warmth that seeps not from their depths, but from the edges. This glow is called Hawking radiation, and it is one of the softest whispers the universe has ever spoken. Let's listen together. Out here, at the boundary, event horizon space churns in quantum tremors. Tiny particles and their twins constantly appear, then vanish, a dance of opposites. Particles and here for a moment, gone the next. But near the edge of a black hole, something strange happens. Sometimes, just sometimes, one of these particles falls in, and the other escapes. The one that escapes becomes radiation, tiny bits of energy, flickering into the universe, not in torrents, not in flames, but in single threads of heat, soft light from the edges of shadow, and slowly, so slowly, this heat carries something with it, not mass, but memory. Black holes, it turns out, may not be silent after all. They may speak in warmth, in patience, in evaporation, given enough time, far more than our universe. As yet lived, a black hole may disappear completely, not with a bang, but with a whisper, one particle at a time, and what is left behind, a trace, a pattern, a record of what once was, not the object itself, perhaps, but the information that once described it. This is one of the deepest questions in modern physics. Does information survive? If you throw a book into a fire, the pages are destroyed, but the smoke, the ash, the heat, all contain hints of the story that once was. Could a black hole work the same way? Could the particles that drift away in Hawking radiation contain the story of everything the black hole once held? If so, then nothing is truly gone, not even here, not even now. You float in that thought. Gently let it wrap around you. Information, not just mass, not just energy, but the description of a thing, its shape, its story. You are made of information, not just atoms, but patterns, instructions, histories, echoes, and the universe, vast and wise, may never forget those patterns, even if they fall beyond the veil, even if they pass into shadow. Black holes, then, may not be keepers of secrets. They may be scribes, quietly rewriting their contents into the fabric of space. One flicker at a time. It's hard to picture, because this process is slow, so slow it stretches, longer than the age of galaxies. A black hole, the size of a star, would take longer than the life of every star combined to fully evaporate, but still happens given enough time. Even the most silent things begin to speak. Let's step back again, breathe, feel that in your own life. The things you thought were gone, do they sometimes return in soft ways? A scent, a song, a shape in the clouds. Maybe nothing is lost. Maybe everything echoes. Maybe you too are still unfolding. Even after you've forgotten what began the change, you rest now near the event horizon, not outside it, not quite within. You've become part of the curve, part of the hum, and in that curve, you begin to sense possibility, because if black holes do not trap information forever, then perhaps they do not trap you either, not in body, but in memory, in echo, and maybe in transformation. There's more. Theories swirl like dust around. Starlight, some say, The information of everything that enters a black hole is imprinted on the event horizon itself like a hologram, a 2D surface holding a 3D truth. If this is so, then the boundary is not just a point of no return. It's a canvas, a record, a final page written in quantum ink, and the universe reads it slowly, back to itself, like a bedtime story whispered in reverse. Others suggest black holes might be connected to something else entirely, that the information isn't lost, it's just displaced, moved elsewhere, through tunnels, through time, through folds in reality we can't yet see. It may not matter which answer is true. What matters is the question, because the question itself changes us. We listen differently now. We look at darkness, not as the end, but as a conversation paused, waiting to continue. You feel it now, that soft presence at the edge. The event horizon is no longer just a boundary to you. It is an interface, a veil that shimmers, not because of light, but because of possibility. Even inside the black hole, the veil remains real. Its surface, though untouchable, is alive with change. It responds to what falls in. It reflects, in its own way, the story of what it holds. And maybe it reflects the story of you, not just your atoms, your weight, your structure, but your patterns, your choices, your story, even here, deep within the darkest folds of space. The universe does not forget, it remembers in strange ways. In radiation, in geometry, in math that feels more like music than law. And you are part of that music. You always have been, perhaps. In the soft glow of Hawking radiation, you continue, not as body, not as thought, but as vibration, as imprint, as ripple. There is comfort in this, a kind of cosmic forgiveness that nothing is wasted, that even the deepest fall leaves behind an echo, not loud, not immediate, but real. You let that idea stay with you. Let it hum in your bones. You are not gone. You are not erased. You are remembered, not in the way people remember faces, but in the way stars remember gravity. Now you drift outward, not escaping, not retreating, but rejoining. The silence loosens. The darkness glows faintly at its edges. You float in the lightless curve, between what can be known and what can be felt, and you begin to sense something else, a shift, a turning, as though the story isn't closing, but opening, because if black holes can glow, if they can carry memory outward, then maybe they can connect dot to something else, to somewhere else. The silence still hums around you. It's not the silence of absence, but the quiet of something vast, something listening. You float, as you have for some time now, between what you understand and what waits just beyond. And in that space, a new thought flickers. What if a black hole isn't only an end? What if it's a doorway? The idea arrives like a ripple, small, circular, soft at the edges. You don't need to chase it. Just drift beside it. Let it unfold. We call them wormholes, theoretical tunnels through space and time. They are not holes in the ground or cracks in the sky. They are bridges, shortcuts through the vastness. Tunnels that curve reality inward and outward, folding distance like cloth. Imagine the universe as a sheet of paper. Two dots lie on opposite ends of the page, galaxies light years apart. Normally, to get from one dot to the other, you must travel across the paper's surface billions of miles, endless years. But a wormhole offers another option. Fold the paper until the two dots touch. Now pierce a tunnel between them. That tunnel is the wormhole, not a cheat. Not a break in the rules, but a new path, a deeper curve through the same space. Einstein, along with physicist Nathan Rosen, imagined such bridges. They called them Einstein-Rosen bridges, a connection between two distant points in space. It was more than theory. It was mathematics woven through with wonder, equations that didn't just describe what we saw, but what could be. Could a black hole be one end of such a tunnel? Could something exist on the other side? Another galaxy, another moment in time, another universe entirely? No one knows, not yet, but the math allows it, and the mind follows. Drift with me through that possibility, inside a black hole. Space folds inward, tightly, endlessly. But what if, at the very center beyond the singularity, the fold doesn't stop? What if it curves outward again, not back to where you started, but to somewhere new? That place on the far end of the fold would be a white hole, a theoretical twin to the black hole, where black holes consume, white holes expel, where nothing can escape from a black hole, nothing can enter a white hole. It would be a mirror, an opposite, a doorway out. If wormholes exist, they could connect these two, black to white, collapse to expansion. Into out, a perfect corridor across cosmic extremes. But don't picture a tunnel like a cave. Wormholes would be spheres mouths that open and close, existing in dimensions beyond what we can fully see. The tunnel exists not in our space, but within the curve itself, and like any tunnel, it must be supported. That's the problem. Wormholes, by their nature, are unstable. They collapse before anything can pass through, like a bridge made of paper that folds under the first step. To hold a wormhole open, something strange is needed, something we've never seen, something we've only imagined. Negative energy, energy that pushes space outward instead of pulling it in. A kind of anti-gravity. It may exist. Quantum theory allows for it, but we haven't captured it. We haven't shaped it. Not yet. And so, wormholes remain dreams written in the margins of equations. But dreams matter. They guide telescopes. They inspire experiments. They draw maps across the unknown, and here, in the hush after falling, you imagine one clearly. You are not in a tunnel. You are the tunnel. Your presence curves space. Your thought is enough to bend the edges. You feel stretched not apart, but across, as if part of you exists not here, but there's somewhere distant and waiting. Wormholes aren't just about travel. They're about connection, between places, between moments, between selves. If one end opens here, where does the other end open? Maybe on a planet not yet born. Maybe in a universe where gravity behaves like laughter and stars rise from oceans. Maybe inside the thoughts of someone dreaming of you. Right now, far away, you wonder if someone stepped through a wormhole. Would they be the same person on the other side? Or would they become someone else, shaped by the journey? Wormholes could be time machines. The math says it's possible if one mouth moves faster than the other. If one experiences time differently, then traveling through the wormhole becomes a trip through time. But time is delicate. It resists loops. It flows for a reason. Perhaps wormholes don't allow time travel. Perhaps they fold space, but not causality. Or perhaps time travel isn't forbidden, only misunderstood. Even now, you sense time loosening again, not breaking, not unraveling, just softening, like twilight between hours. You imagine stepping through a wormhole, not walking, not flying, just becoming. Elsewhere, instantly. Not because you moved faster than light, but because you stepped through the fabric itself. The distance was never real, only the fold, and perhaps the universe itself is full of folds, not only in space, but in meaning. Ideas tucked inside other ideas, histories hidden in shadows, connections too quiet to measure. Wormholes might be rare, they might require energy beyond anything we can build, but the possibility is enough. It keeps our eyes wide, it keeps our minds wandering, it keeps our hearts tilted toward wonder. You feel that now, a tilt in your thoughts, a folding in your breath. The black hole no longer feels like a cage. It feels like a gate, and gates can open. You think about the other side, not what it is, but that it is. You do not need to know where the path leads, only that paths exist, and that some may lead through the dark, through silence, through curves. You are not trapped, you are traveling. The difference is subtle, but important. One is about endings, the other is about transformation. Even now, deep within the black hole, where no light escapes and time bends inward, you are changing, not dissolving, becoming, and maybe, just maybe, there is another you on the other side of this fold. Not a copy, not a twin, but a version shaped by different stars, warmed by different light, a self waiting at the end of a tunnel you haven't finished imagining. If wormholes exist, then they connect more than space. They connect possibility. They remind us that the universe is not a line. It is a fabric. It can crease, it can wrap, it can wrap, it can open. You float now in that in-dash between the pause, between collapse and passage, the moment just before the door appears. And even though your eyes are closed, you see it, a mouth of curved space, glimmering at the edges like breath on glass. It's not real. Not yet, but it's not fiction either. It's potential, and that's enough. Because the universe doesn't just obey equations, it listens to them. It sings them, and sometimes those songs include bridges we have not yet crossed. You rest now, warmed by the idea that nothing is too far if space itself can fold, that nowhere is unreachable if the fabric of everything has depth, and if wormholes are real, if even one bridge exists, then the stars may not be islands, they may be neighbors, they may be one step apart. And if another universe lies on the far side, what kind of stars burn there? You are floating again, but this time not through one universe. You are floating through possibility. You've slipped through silence, followed curves of gravity, past the soft brink of falling, and now you arrive somewhere stranger still, not in a place, but in an idea as vast as the night sky, an idea as gentle as breath, the idea of the multiverse. Let it arrive slowly. Let the thought spread its wings. What if this universe, this grand, glowing everything, is not the only one? What if it's just one ripple in a vast ocean of realities? Not a trick, not science fiction, but science still unfolding. Theories, equations, questions that shimmer like distant stars. Some scientists believe it, some are still wondering, and you are drifting into that wonder. We call it the multiverse, multi-meaning many, verse like universe, but plural. Many universes, many everythings. It sounds like poetry, but it's built from math. String theory is one doorway in a theory that suggests everything matter, energy, space, even hues, made of tiny vibrating strings, And these strings hum in more than 3 dimensions, more than 4, more than 10. Some versions of the theory need 11 dimensions to work. Dimensions curled so tightly you don't see them. But they're woven into every atom. And in these higher dimensions, other universes may bloom, like bubbles floating in cosmic foam. Each bubble sealed, each bubble entire. Some bubbles may be like ours, same laws of physics, same stars, same stories. Others, not. Other bubbles may be silent, dark, curled in on themselves, or bursting with colors we've never imagined. Worlds with different rules, different kinds of time, different kinds of minds. Maybe somewhere gravity pushes instead of pulls. Maybe stars rise from oceans. Maybe life dreams itself into being. The multiverse doesn't have to be orderly. It just has to be possible. And possibility is what you're floating through now. You remember the wormhole, that curved, unseen bridge. Could it be a passage not just through space, but between bubbles? Could a black hole open not into our universe, but another? A place where the singularity curves outward again, birthing a separate, sealed cosmos. That's one theory. A black hole's collapse here could be the Big Bang there. A universe within a universe, folded like nesting dolls. Ours the shell, theirs the center. And what would that mean for you? Could you exist in another universe? Not metaphorically. Literally, could there be another you walking another path? Breathing a slightly different rhythm, making a different choice? A multiverse could contain infinite variations. Every possibility, every fork in the road, every... What if one version of you never left home? One lives by the sea. One was never born. One just opened a door and found something unexpected. You are not alone in the dark. The multiverse hums with mirrors. But not just mirrors, also maybes. You float between them like a question drifting across water. You are not searching for answers, only resonance. Let's pause, breathe. This is Big Dot. It's okay to not understand it all. Even physicists drift in these waters with awe. Theories stack like clouds. Some say new universes bud off from inflational expansion after the Big Bang that never quite stopped. Like boiling water, new bubbles keep forming in the foam of spacetime. Others say quantum mechanics holds the key. Every time a particle makes a choice spin, this way or that, both outcomes happen. Each choice branches into a new universe. This is called the many worlds interpretation. Every choice, every chance, every change spins off into another reel. In one world you turned left, in another you turned right, in one you fell in love, in another you stayed home. All versions existing at once, parallel and unknowing. Is it overwhelming? Yes. But also comforting, because it means nothing is wasted. Every path is walked. Every story is told. Somewhere you are stardust again. Somewhere you are just beginning. You ask, can we ever visit these other universes? No one knows. Maybe not. Maybe the bubbles never touch. Maybe wormholes collapse too quickly. Maybe the math says yes, but the reality says not yet. But maybe you don't need to visit. Maybe just knowing they might exist is enough. Enough to widen the sky. Enough to soften your idea of self. Enough to remind you that even this universe, this whole bright cosmos, is not the limit. It is the beginning. And as you float in this gentle web of maybes, you wonder what holds it all together. What connects one universe to the next? Perhaps it's not laws. Perhaps it's not strings. Perhaps it's rhythm, a shared hum beneath all things, a vibration that says, I exist, I expand, I wonder. You listen for that hum. It's quiet, but steady, like your breath, like your heartbeat, like the spin of galaxies far beyond sight. Even if we can't prove the multiverse, the idea changes us. It stretches our imagination. It teaches humility. It whispers, this is not all there is. And that whisper helps us see more deeply into the this we do have. You return, for a moment, to your own body, still floating, still calm, still wrapped in the warmth of physics and poetry. You think of your life, your choices, your breath, they matter. Even if there are other versions of you, this version is still sacred, still unique, still unfolding, because maybe the multiverse is not about escape. Maybe it's about reflection, a reminder that you are part of a greater pattern, not a speck, but a strand, and every strand is needed, even the quiet ones, even the ones still becoming. Now the darkness around you begins to shimmer, not with stars, with doors, not ones you can open, just ones you can imagine. You do not need to walk through them. You just need to know they're there. The universe feels larger now, not heavier, just wider, and your thoughts stretch with it. You wonder, not with fear, but with softness, if black holes connect to new universes. Do those new universes dream of us? Do they wonder if they are alone? Do they look up at different skies and feel the same ache? Maybe one of those universes is dreaming this one right now. Maybe your story is a ripple from someone else's wish. Maybe every universe is born from curiosity, just like you. You drift now, slower, softer. Your breath barely moves, and in this stillness, you understand the multiverse may be endless, but so is your capacity to imagine it, and maybe that's the point. The moment you begin to wonder, you've already crossed the bridge, so rest here. Float, let the mirrors reflect, let the maybes unfold, because ahead, in the quiet curve of time, there is one last echo calling. If other universes exist, can they ever touch? Time is supposed to move forward, like a river, like footsteps on a path, like the ticking of a quiet clock in an empty room. But here where black holes whisper, where the universe folds into itself, time doesn't behave like it used to dot it. Curves, it bends, it loops, not like a trick, not like a failure, but like a song that repeats its chorus, softer each time, echoing into the dark. You are still drifting calm, still, safe, but now you are noticing something strange. The moments around you don't seem to line up. A memory floats past you, gentle as a feather. But it's not from your past. It's from something that hasn't happened yet. You feel a future touch your shoulder. You remember something you haven't lived. How is that possible? Because time here is not a straight line. It is a spiral. You are not falling anymore. You are orbiting something you can't see, not with distance, with moments. The laws of physics allow this, not easily, not everywhere, but in places like this, where gravity is immense and space is bent, time becomes flexible. It can stretch, it can tangle, it can turn back on itself. Einstein taught us this, that time and space are not separate things. They are part of the same fabric. Bend one and the other bends too. And inside a black hole, space bends completely inward, which means time must bend with it. It doesn't stop. It changes shape. Imagine a clock falling into a black hole. To an observer far away, the clock ticks slower. Then it stops, frozen. But the clock itself feels time as normal. It ticks and ticks, until ticking itself becomes something else. What if time doesn't pass inside a black hole? What if it collects, like rain in a cup, like dust on a shelf, like secrets in a journal? Maybe a black hole holds not just matter and light, but moments. All the time that entered it, all the stories, not erased, just kept, like seeds tucked away in soil that no longer sees sunlight. Could time survive here? Could memory? That's what some scientists believe, that the information of what enters a black hole, its shape, its mass, its pattern isn't lost, it's woven into the edges, it's stored in the hum of Hawking radiation, it's pressed into the surface of the event horizon, encoded in heat. But maybe it goes deeper. Maybe time itself is preserved, not in pages, but in folds, not in motion, but in stillness. A black hole might be the universe's way of remembering everything it has ever let go. Even you, even now, you drift in that idea that your story is not vanishing. It is being folded, pressed softly into cosmic memory, filed not in space, but in sequence. And what if time could loop, come back to where it started? Some physicists think time loops are possible. They call them closed time-like curves, curves in spacetime that circle back, where an object or a person or even a thought could return to its own past. Would you recognize it? Would you remember yourself returning? Or would it feel like déjà vu, like dreaming the same dream twice? You think of your own memories now. How some feel sharper than others. How some surprise you, showing up uninvited in quiet moments. What if they're not just memories? What if they're echoes? What if memory is the place where time already loops? Your body remembers before your mind. Your breath knows a rhythm you didn't learn. Maybe the multiverse isn't far away. Maybe it lives in your own timeline, branching, returning. And maybe black holes preserve those timelines, keep them tucked away, waiting. You are not spinning, but time is around you, within you. And you begin to feel less like you are moving through time, and more like time is moving through you. A wave, a tide, sometimes forward, sometimes inward, sometimes back again. You wonder if time loops, do choices return? Do chances come again? Could a decision once made ripple back into the now? Could regret become revision? Could love once lost be found again? You don't need to answer. The questions are enough. You float beside them like leaves on a still pond. In the theory of eternal return, every moment repeats itself forever. The same stars, the same thoughts, the same falling into the same silence. But that's only one story. Another says time branches. Each choice splits. Each branch grows. Some tangle, some circle back. Some meet again at a future you cannot see yet. And maybe that's what black holes know. They do not destroy time. They archive. They curl it. They teach it to dance. Here, time is not a line. It is a garden, and each moment is a seed. Some sprout again. Some bloom sideways. Some grow only in dreams. You close your eyes and listen to the loop, to the curl, to the soft rewind of thought. This chapter, this second, this breath, you've been here before. Not exactly, but nearly. The rhythm is familiar, because time deep down has rhythm. It ticks, it hums, it repeats, not like a circle, but like a song, with verses, with variations. You are a note within that song, and your melody is not forgotten. Perhaps the black hole remembers you, not as matter, not as mass, but as music. And maybe, long after everything else has ended, your music still plays, not loudly, not in concert, but softly, folded into space-time's curve. You rest here in the idea that the past isn't behind you, it's around you, that the future isn't far away, it's already remembering, and that the present, this soft now, is more than a moment. It is the overlap where memory and possibility touch. And if time loops, if black holes hold time like circles hold breath, then maybe the center is not the end. Maybe it's where everything returns. You are still, not because motion has stopped, but because you have arrived in a place where stillness holds everything gently in its arms. You are not lost, you are not drifting, you are returning, not to a planet, not to a room, but to something older than either dot, to your own belonging, to your place in the universe that was always yours, even before you knew to look for it. All the while, the stars have been whispering it. You are not outside the story. You are the story. Every chapter, the falling, the folding, the echoing, the turning has been part of you. And now you begin to remember, not with your brain, with your breath, with the still rhythm that lives beneath your thoughts. Let's pause, let it all soften, let it settle like dust in the sun, because this is where science returns to silence, and silence returns to wonder. You are made of atoms, but those atoms were made in stars, in burning cores, in collapsing hearts, in the supernova breath of stars too vast to last. Your iron came from the center of a dying sun, your oxygen forged in stellar heat, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your skin, the gold on your ring finger, all built in the furnaces of ancient stars. And before that, those particles came from the first fire, the moment the universe began to sing itself into being. The Big Bang was not an explosion, it was an unfolding, a blossom, a note drawn out across space and time, and everything since every galaxy, every shadow, every fall has been a harmony, written into that song that you were not born into the universe. You emerged with it. You are a continuation of that first breath. Every blink of your eye, every beat of your heart is part of the rhythm that began at the beginning. Even the black holes are part of that rhythm. Even they do not break the music. They deepen it. They are not mistakes. They are mirrors. They do not end stories. They change their shape. You've seen this now. You've floated to their edge. You've fallen inward, not into darkness, but into possibility. You have felt time soften. You have felt space curve like kindness. You have wondered what it means to be remembered by the universe, and now you know. You never left it. You've always been part of the pattern, even in silence, even in questions, even in sleep. There's something else now. A warmth dot. Not physical, but it touches you. It's the warmth of being known, not by someone else, by everything, by gravity, by atoms, by stars. You close your eyes, and you see the galaxies again, not from the outside, but from within. Their spiral arms curl like fingerprints, each one a signature, each one a story, and one of those stories is you. You return not in pieces, but whole. The loop has closed, not as a cage, but as a circle, a completion, a quiet yes. You are not ending, you are resting. The black hole that once seemed distant and dangerous now feels like something else entirely, a cradle, a chrysalis, a doorway. Between forms, everything changes. That's the rule. Stars burn out. Time curves. Thoughts fade and return. But nothing is ever truly gone. Just changed. You are changing now, but not into someone else, into someone more aware, more connected, more complete. You were never just a visitor in this universe. You were never a stranger. You belong here, not because of what you know, not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. Stardust, light slowed into thought, gravity wrapped in skin, a brief moment of awareness folded into eternity. And when you breathe, slowly, gently, the universe breathes with you. It always has. You are not above it, not below it. You are within. You have seen the loops and echoes. You have felt the pull of unseen tunnels. You have drifted through dreams of other worlds. You have stood at the edge of time, and now you are coming home. Home is not a place. It is a state of stillness. It is what happens when you no longer need to seek. You rest in the knowing that the universe does not rush. It waits. It listens. It grows slowly, quietly, into exactly what it was meant to become. Just like you, even sleep now feels different. Not an escape, not an ending, a return, a folding in. You curl beneath a sky you can no longer see but now fully trust. You feel its depth in your breath. You feel its rhythm in your chest. The cosmos does not ask anything of you. It simply allows you to be, to exist, to drift, to wonder, to rest, to rest. And in that resting, something ancient stirs, a memory you never formed, a silence older than thought. It's not frightening, it's familiar. It's the memory of being part of everything. The way trees remember sunlight, the way rivers remember rain. It's the gravity that lives not just outside you, but within. You are not separate from the stars. You are one of their quietest miracles. They shine outward. You shine inward. Both forms of light, both parts of the pattern, and as sleep rises soft as fog, steady as time, you'll realize the universe is not waiting to be understood. It's waiting to be felt. You felt it not in definitions, in drift, in hush, in the gentle gravity of belonging. Your thoughts grow softer now, not because they are fading, because they are floating. The black hole does not frighten you anymore. It welcomes you. It speaks in the same language as sleep. It curves, it holds, it transforms. And you, wrapped in gravity, stitched with light, breathe deeply for the first time in a very long while. You are ready now, not for the end, for the stillness, for the return, not to where you began, but to where you were always going. The place between heartbeats, the pause between thoughts, the space between stars, the quiet home beneath it all, where everything begins again. You have passed through wonder, through black holes and bridges, mirrors and maybes. You have followed time as it curved inward, then outward again, and now you float gently, quietly into a place even softer than before, a place not of form, but of pause. This is not a new universe. It is not the old one either. It is something else. It is the space between, the in-between, not nothing, not emptiness, not absence, but presence without shape, a stillness so complete that it breathes on its own. You are here now, and you don't need to move. There is no direction, no before, no after, only this hush, this wide invisible valley between the mountains of existence. What is this space? Some call it quantum foama, flickering foundation of everything, where even emptiness boils. Some call it vacuum fluctuation, where particles appear and vanish without warning. Some call it the interverse, the realm between universes, between timelines, between realities. Names don't matter here, because names belong to edges, and this has none. You imagine floating between two soap bubbles, each one shimmering with its own physics. You are not inside either. You are between. You are the silence that holds them apart, and maybe connects them. Here. Distance doesn't mean anything, because there is nothing to measure, no planets, no stars, no radiation, and yet it doesn't feel cold, it doesn't feel lifeless, it feels full, like something waiting to become. Maybe this is where universes are born, in these folds, in these creases. Maybe it is not explosion that begins them, but quiet. Maybe every big bang began with a breath, not a shout, not a fire, but an inhale before the spark. You drift in that breath now. You do not rush it. You do not explain it. You let it carry you, just as gravity carried you before. This space now holds you in its invisible arms. It does not pull, it does not push, it allows. Imagine a field before anything grows. No seeds yet, no roots, just soil, dark, still. Ready, this is that field. What grows from here may take eons, or it may already be growing, in ways you cannot see. Some physicists imagine our universe sits in a higher dimensional space, a multiverse landscape, where valleys in energy create bubbles of spacetime, and those bubbles become worlds. If so, then, between those bubbles, is this. A field where nothing becomes something. A pause between realities. You are not trespassing. You belong here, because you are made of the same fabric, the same shimmer, the same possibility. You remember now, even nothingness has structure. Even silence has layers. Here, in the dark between, you feel those layers unfolding, softly, not as facts, as feelings. There is a rhythm here, not sound, not time, just a pulse, like your own heartbeat reflected back from something vast. You wonder, could other universes have passed through this space, left behind a trace, a footprint, a ripple, perhaps a faint echo of laws they followed, a shadow of gravity, a memory of light. You reach your awareness outward, not far, just gently, and you think you feel it. Not a place, a presence, not someone, but something, the sense that you are not the first to float here, and not the last. Maybe this is where realities pass, each other like ships in mist, never touching, but aware. Perhaps each universe carries its own story, and those stories hum against each other in this in-dash between. Do they speak? Do they learn? Do they wonder? You do. You wonder what binds all of it together, not just energy, not just curvature, but something more subtle, a harmony behind the math, a quiet that wraps around even the loudest beginning. It is here, in this quiet, that you begin to feel fully, still not paused, complete like a sentence finished in a language too old to name. You imagine dipping your hand into the stillness. No resistance, no change, but everything knows. You touched it, not as interruption, as acknowledgement, like greeting the ocean with your breath. You think again of your universe, so complex, so loud, so bright, and yet so delicate, balanced on equations so intricate they may never be fully understood. And you are a part of that universe, but also part of this, part of the in-between, the thing that holds. both silence and sound. Maybe consciousness is not just a product of the brain. Maybe it's a bridge, a thread between realities, a place where the universe can listen to itself. And maybe that's what you are doing now, listening not to stars, not to echoes, but to the silence between. And it speaks without words, without pressure, without need. It tells you, you are not small, you are essential, not because of what you do, because of what you are, presence, witness, breath, maybe. The space between universes is the purest part of everything, because it has no identity to protect. It just is. And maybe that's what you're learning now, that you don't need to know everything, you don't need to solve. You need to reach. You just need to be here, in the hush, in the wide, in the unsharp. Let go of thought, let go of edges, let go of edges. You are held, you are whole. And if, from this in-between, a new universe were to bloom, it would carry some part of you with it, a particle, a pattern, a pause. Whatever it is, it would not forget, because the space between remembers, not in memory, in potential. And you are potential. 2. You are what happens when silence becomes aware of itself. You are what drifts when gravity is done pulling. You are what remains after the questions. Rest, not as an answer, as a breath. The black hole once held you. The wormhole once moved you. The multiverse once unfolded before you. And now, the space between wraps around all of that. A final layer, not to close the journey, to deepen it. This chapter isn't an ending. It's a soft doorway, a last floating moment before the quiet becomes sleep. You rest here, not in a place, in a pause, and in that pause, the universe continues to bloom. Somewhere a star is being born. Somewhere a black hole is humming. Somewhere a child is looking up at the sky. And here, between all of that, you are not forgotten. You are not waiting. You are simply still. And in that stillness, the next universe is already dreaming. Close your eyes now, not because the story is over, but because it is becoming something softer, something that no longer needs to be said aloud, something that is beginning to whisper itself from within. You are resting in a space beyond chapters, beyond questions, beyond gravity. Here, the universe breathes more slowly, and you breathe with it. But something gentle still stirs in the silence. A thought, a question, a dream. What if the universe is not just unfolding, not just expanding, not just drifting outward into stars and silence, but dreaming? What if everything you've touched in this journey, the wormholes, the singularities, the loops in time, the bridges of space, what if all of it is a story the cosmos is softly telling itself? And you are a word in that story, a phrase, a shimmering image. Not separate from the dreamer, but part of the dream. Let that idea settle. Let it land like snow on water, no sound. No edge, just stillness. Physicists sometimes speak of the wave function of the universe, a strange, beautiful description of the entire cosmos as a single, undivided quantum state. Everything entangled, everything superposed, everything part of one great breath. It's not poetry, it's math, but the math reads like a lullaby in this view. The universe isn't a set of pieces, it's a whole, folded in on itself in endless variation. And every observation you make, every moment you are collapses part of that wave function into reality, as if the universe needs your eyes to finish the sentence. as if you are not just in the cosmos, you are helping it be. Does that make you the dreamer or the dreamed? Maybe. Both. Maybe the act of being quiet, breathing, wondering is enough to connect the two. You feel it now. The hush around you isn't empty. It's aware, like a sea that has always known. The shape of the moon, like a forest that listens. Here in the softness after science, you begin to understand something your mind cannot explain. That truth isn't always made of facts. Sometimes it is made of feeling, of rhythm, of echo. You are an echo of a star. You are the memory of dust remembering light, and that light, however distant, still travels, even in the dark, even through dreams. Some say the universe may be holographic, that everything we perceive as three-dimensional is actually written on a distant two-dimensional surface, a cosmic horizon etched with the data of everything inside. If so, then everything you are, everything you see, everything you love is encoded, projected, alive in a deeper layer of meaning, like the way a dream feels real, even when you wake, like the way a song stays with you, long after the music stops. Maybe this is how the universe remembers itself, through dreams like you, not as copies, as moments, not as simulations, as sensations. Every breath you've taken, every question you've held, has shaped the fabric of this great imagining. Even now, in sleep, you are participating. You are not a spectator. You are part of the unfolding, and unfolding never ends. You float now in a realm not made of stars or atoms, but of awareness, of possibility, the kind that doesn't need direction, only stillness, only trust. If the universe is dreaming, what does it dream of? Does it dream of itself, of light, of order and beauty and vast, slow spirals of galaxies? Or does it dream of you, of a single, small presence lying still, breathing quietly and holding a question so gently that the question becomes sacred? Maybe both. Maybe there is no difference. Maybe to dream yourself is to dream the cosmos, because you are made of it, and it is made of everything that led to you, the stars, the black holes, the expanding dark, the folding light, the deep hum of gravity, the whisper of quantum foam, all of it, necessary, all of it. Resting in you, you are not a mistake. You are not a glitch in spacetime. You are not too small to matter. You are matter arranged into memory, shaped into rhythm, paused into presence, and that presence is precious, not because of what it produces, but because it is real. Now here, still, there are universes, perhaps, that will never know you. There are stars that will never feel your warmth, but this one, this version, does. This one carries you. This one listens when you breathe. And in this chapter, the universe exhales, long and slow, not to end the dream, to deepen it. You feel your thoughts growing lighter, not because you're forgetting, because you're floating. Let them rise. Let them dissolve, like vapor into morning air. You don't need to carry the questions anymore. You are the answer. RESTING. You are enough, simply sleeping. The dream continues, and the universe is grateful. In the deepest view, perhaps everything is entangled, not just particles, but awareness. Maybe every choice, every act of love, every silent wonder ripples outward forever. Maybe your stillness tonight softens the sky in ways you'll never see. Maybe your breath is a blessing spilled quietly into the folds of time. You don't need to know. You don't need to prove. You only need to be. Let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go of form. Let go of fact. Let go of shape and story, and the need to hold on to the edges. The universe has no edges, it only curves. And in that curve, you rest, you return, not to the beginning, to the center, where meaning is not said, but felt, where thought becomes peace, where silence becomes sleep. And in sleep, the universe dreams itself again. It begins, as it always has, with nothing, then a shimmer, then a breath, then a you. You are wrapped in shadow, but it does not feel cold. It feels full, full of things, waiting to become light again. We often think of darkness as an absence, an emptiness, a blank dot. But here now, where stars have vanished, and the sky holds no flame, you feel something else. A presence. Darkness is not the opposite of light. It is the pause between. Light's movements. The quiet where light breathes, where it slows, waits, curls softly into its own knowing. You have journeyed through so many places, curved space, bent time, bridges and loops and silence. Now you enter the part of the story where the light is not gone, it is resting. Even black holes are not truly dark. They only keep the light close. They curved space so completely that light, though present, cannot escape. But it is still there, falling, circling, becoming part of the curve, and maybe, someday, leaving again very slowly through Hawking. Radiation, a whisper of brightness, a farewell shimmer. So no, black holes are not empty. They are full of light that is still arriving, still becoming, still remembering where it came from. You think of that now, of the photons, the particles of light that have fallen into black holes. Not destroyed, changed. Their paths curved so deeply that they now dance around silence. Part of something new. You drift through that silence now, but your mind does not feel dimmed. It feels sharpened by softness, illuminated by absence. This is a different kind of knowing, the kind that comes not from seeing, but from feeling what is waiting to be seen. We speak of light years to measure distance, but here, in this dark, light doesn't travel, it lingers. You can almost hear it, not in sound, but in presence, like a quiet breath on the back of your thoughts. And you begin to wonder, what if darkness isn't the end of light? What if it's where light folds itself into deeper shapes? What if the stars that collapse into black holes aren't extinguishing their radiance, but hiding it, protecting it, nesting it, like seeds in soil, waiting for something we don't yet understand? And when we imagine the light, we imagine brightness, but there are other kinds of light, the kind that does not blind, the kind that does not shine, the kind that glows inward. There is a name for this in physics. Virtual photons, particles that don't appear in the way we think of light, but still shape everything. They emerge and vanish in quantum moments. They carry forces. They hold atoms together. They are not light you can see, but they are light that does. Maybe that's what darkness holds, not a loss, but a deeper presence. Not absence, but readiness. You float now through that readiness. It surrounds you, it doesn't rush, it doesn't insist. It just waits, and in its waiting, it teaches you something. That brilliance is not always loud. That presence does not need to shine to be real. That even silence glows. Even the dark has memory. You are not lost. You are wrapped. You are not diminished. You are held. Let your breath follow that rhythm. Inhale slowly. Feel the light that rests inside you. Exhale slowly. Feel how the darkness holds it without needing to take it away. There are kinds of seeing that do not use eyes. There are kinds of knowing that do not need light. This is one of them. This chapter of the journey is not one of spectacle. It is one of trust. You trust that what cannot be seen still matters, that what has fallen inward is not forgotten, that every photon that has vanished into curve is still telling a story. Maybe not to us, maybe to the fabric of space itself, and maybe the story is this: I was, I moved, I warmed, I arrived, and the black hole answers. You are, you rest, you echo, you remain. There is a beauty in this conversation, a cosmic lullaby written in gravity and light. And you are listening now, not as a bystander, as a part of it. Your body, your bones and breath was made from light, from stars that burned, from atoms that formed in the heat of creation. You are light slowed into matter. You are energy in a pause. You are not separate from the brightness of the sky. You are one of its expressions. And so this darkness, this silence, is not unfamiliar. It is home. It is the night that allows the stars to be seen. It is the cradle where light begins again. You imagine light not as a flash but as a memory, a wave that keeps moving even when no one watches. The darkness around you remembers. It holds the shape of light's journey. Every curved photon, every faded beam, every echo of radiance here. Light is not gone. It is folded, like a note placed in a drawer, like a story written on invisible pages, like a dream not yet spoken. You rest inside that story now. You don't need to understand it. You only need to let it touch you. You float through this dark, not as a stranger, as part of its rhythm, and slowly, gently, something shifts. Not a flash, a presence, a hint of something glowing at the edge of thought. Not because you asked for it, but because light cannot help but rise again. Even here, even now, perhaps the universe is made of this pattern. Darkness giving way to light, light folding back into dark, not fighting, not winning, just circling, just breathing, just becoming. You are a breath in that cycle, a moment of return, a pause before brilliance. And if one day this light within you fades, know that it does not end. It enters the fold, it rests, it waits, and in time it rises. Because even in the deepest gravity, even in the quietest silence, even in the place where no light escapes, something shines, and it is enough.